Councillor Crossman, can we do a mic check, please?
Good afternoon, Madam City Clerk.
Thank you.
C'est toi qui vas pousser le bouton.
That's my job.
Good evening, everyone. Bonsoir tout le monde. Mayor Arnold is away. I will be chairing the meeting this evening. Donc, bienvenue à tous. Madame la greffière.
Your Worship, all public meetings of council are simultaneously translated. Hearing devices are available if you have the right to address council in the official language of your choice. Meetings are also simulcast in both languages on the City of Moncton's YouTube channel and can be found on our website at moncton.ca. If you've registered with the City Clerk's office prior to the agenda deadline, 7 days before the meeting, you will be given 5 minutes for your presentation. All other presentations will be given 2 minutes. You will receive a reminder when 1 minute is remaining. No presenter shall speak disrespectfully of council, staff, or a member of the general public. The use of offensive or profane language will not be tolerated. Any breach of this guideline may result in the presenter being asked to leave the council area at the discretion of the chair. Un service d'interprétation simultanée est offert durant nos réunions. Vous aurez le droit de parler dans la langue officielle de votre choix. Les casques d'écoute servent à la traduction sont disponibles. Ces réunions sont diffusées en français et en anglais sur les plateformes YouTube. Les réunions sont également diffusées sur l'Internet à moncton.ca. Si vous êtes inscrit auprès du bureau de la greffière avant la date limite, c'est-à-dire 16 jours avant la séance, vous aurez 5 minutes pour effectuer votre présentation. Toute autre présentation du public aura droit à 2 minutes. Une cloche sonnera pour vous indiquer qu'il ne vous reste qu'1 minute. S'il vous plaît, notez. Aucun présentateur ne devra manquer de respect lorsqu'il parlera du conseil, d'un membre du personnel ou du grand public. Le langage blasphématoire et les propos offensants ne seront pas tolérés. Le président ou la présidente pourra demander à tout présentateur qui enfreint cette directive de quitter la salle du conseil.
Merci, Madame la greffière. Are there changes to the agenda?
Non.
So, could I have a mover and a seconder? Conseiller Kingston and Conseiller Richard seconded. All those in favor signify by saying yay, right?
Yay.
C'est bon, merci. No one oppose. Donc, c'est beau. Conflit d'intérêt. Motion carried.
The next would be conflict of interest, les déclarations des conflits d'intérêt.
There are none this evening.
There are no adoption or consent agenda items for this evening. This evening is public presentations, and the first up are public presentations, a certificate presentation for Danielle Doris, Paralympian. If we could ask Danielle to come to the front. I believe that Deputy Mayor Clériot has some words for you.
Bonsoir, Daniel. Bonsoir, Daniel. Bienvenue. C'est toujours un plaisir d'accueillir des gens qui se distinguent dans notre ville. So it's truly an honor for council to recognize one of Moncton's finest athletes. So, Daniel, we're very happy that you're here with us today. Your incredible performance at the 2024 Paris Paralympics, winning gold in the women's S7 50-meter butterfly and breaking your 2-year-old Canadian record twice, has made not only our city proud, but our entire country, and maybe I could add the world as well to that. This is in addition to your performance at the 2020 Games in Tokyo and the 2016 Games in Rio. Donc, merci Daniel pour la victoire. Votre détermination, votre persévérance et votre talent, c'est vraiment une source d'inspiration pour nous tous aussi. Donc, merci. And I believe you will be inducted into the Moncton Sports Wall of Fame. So that's coming up. And are you also at the market this coming Saturday? Is that correct?
Yes.
So we'll invite everyone to come and meet you there. So, so maybe we can do the exchange of.
The next item is a presentation from Ensemble Service Greater Moncton, and Debbie Warren is here to give us an update.
Madame
Oh.
greffière, j'avais levé ma main.
Avez-vous une question?
Non, je voulais une sorte de question. Je voulais féliciter Daniel, bien sûr, mais je pense qu'on devrait lui donner l'occasion de dire quelques mots si elle le veut. Je ne veux rien imposer, mais ça serait peut-être encourageant si Daniel pourrait encourager les autres athlètes
Daniel.
de notre région.
Would you like to say a few words to council? Looking at her face. Conseiller Bourgeois, elle a dit merci, mais elle n'en voulait pas.
C'est beau, je ne veux rien imposer. C'est beau.
Merci. Go ahead, Debbie.
I'm going to read because if I talked, I know I'd go over 5 minutes. We have a slide, very quick slide presentation. So your deputy worship and members of council, thank you for this opportunity to be here and present an update on Ensemble services. As I move into retirement within the next couple of months, I felt it was timely for me to bring you an update on the services. We work in collaboration with frontline NGOs and community stakeholders. We host practicum students from UWM Social Work, UNB Nursing, NBCC, and Olton's Human Service Counselors, and the Sherbrooke Medical Center. We cannot do our work alone. Next slide, please. 3 of the services that are predominant that we provide are the needle distribution service serving over 1,900 individuals, the overdose prevention site serving about 375 individuals, and we're very blessed to have a full-time nurse practitioner as of March provided to us by Vitalite Health Services. Next slide, please. We also have a social worker on site twice a week to provide one-on-one counseling, and there's a quieting room so that people can decompress their central nervous system. And thanks to the City of Moncton, we have the Wellness Navigator who's been funded for the past 3 years. This individual has assisted 400 individuals to access healthcare services, housing, other community services, and help reconnect them with their family members. We have a harm reduction educator who provides education on harm reduction principles, but also naloxone training to healthcare workers, service providers, and individuals in our community. Next slide, please. And here is our raison d'etre. These are the people that we serve. These are individuals who have allowed us to share their pictures and some of their stories. One particular individual has allowed me to move forward and share her story. Her name is Keisha. She works for Ensemble Services now, but when she came to us, she was homeless, disconnected from family, and in the throes of addictions disorder. As she accessed services and became comfortable and had not a friendship, but a trusting relationship with staff, started to share her story, and the staff were able to work with her to identify what she needed help in. And here's how she got help in our community. Harvest House initially had her housed in the shelter. John Howard, Rising Tide, Salvation Army, Reconnect, Salvis, and Ensemble all worked with this individual. Many resources came together to give her hope, to give her stability in her life. I'm proud to call her one of my staff members who works 21 hours a week. She's now in constant contact with her children. Her comment to me was, "I had forgotten what it felt like to be happy." She's one of many successes that Ensemble and our partners in the community are able to bring forth, but I only have time to share the one story with you. So I ask you all the question, why are we so uncomfortable seeing unhoused individuals? We've seen the comments and the photos, people upset about unhoused individuals with addictions disorder hanging out around Ensemble. Calls for us to move to the industrial park so they don't have to see them. And just recently during the election campaign, the threat of shutting down part of our services. But let's ask ourselves, why are we so quick to turn away instead of reaching out? Over the years, new expensive buildings have been constructed, but homelessness still exists. Moving the homeless out of sight won't solve the problem. It just hides it. Homelessness is not an eyesore, it's a reality of our community. These are people facing incredible challenges, many of whom use our services for support. They deserve compassion, not avoidance. While it's true that some individuals may engage in illegal activities, the reality is that many are simply seeking a quiet place to sit and exist. They are not inherently dangerous. They are members of our community who deserve compassion and understanding. Instead of pushing them out of view, let's ask ourselves why they are in this situation to begin with. Why not address the root causes? Lack of affordable housing, poverty, mental health support, trauma, addictions disorders. Why not work to help them rebuild their lives? We can't continue with the mentality of out of sight and out of mind. We need to recognize that homelessness won't be solved by shuffling people away from city centers. It requires real compassionate solutions, housing, support services, and community involvement. We challenge everyone to think about what kind of community we want to be. A community that hides its most vulnerable members or one that seeks to help them. Thank you. And I didn't run out of time.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie. Other questions or comments? Conseiller Bourgeois.
I'm sorry.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la maire. Merci beaucoup, Debbie. Merci à toi et ton personnel pour tout le travail que vous faites. Have a great retirement. You well deserved. I do have one question, and you're the expert on this. I'm not, but I think over the past few months, British Columbia reversed its position on drug needles, clean needles. I may be wrong, so please correct me if I'm wrong. But what do you think that action, if it is related to what you are doing, what do you think will happen to Ensemble here in Moncton?
So Councillor Bourgeois, it was not about new needles or needle distribution. I believe you're talking about what they talked about, safe supply. And so there were some challenges in that community, as I understand it. People didn't feel it was working, that people were diverting and not using it properly. However, if you listen to the science and the people that actually do the work, you will see that safe supply provides people with a pharmaceutical grade prescription. And it means that people don't have to go to the street and rob, people don't have to go steal, and people don't have to sell their bodies to acquire a medication that poisons them. But we don't do safe supply, just so you're clear. People think that Ensemble distributes drugs, and we sure don't. We are there to supervise people who are using street drugs so that they don't go into overdose and they don't die on us. And to date, across this country of ours, nobody has died from an overdose while they're in the supervised sites.
Okay, so it's not related to what you're doing. My mistake. Thank you very much. Merci, Madame la maire adjointe.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Conseiller Kingston.
Merci, Madame Deputy, Madame Députée. Debbie, thank you for your work at Ensemble. It's a battle every day. You pointed out very accurately that, and it's unfortunate that some Monctonians or people you talk to, apply the out of sight, out of mind analogy that you made. That's unfortunate because we all have to reach deep within ourselves, our humanity, our compassion on the streets of the city, and work together. You're an advocacy. You've been advocating that for years, but it's sorry to see you go. And whoever comes in your office, Debbie, I hope they will have a deeper understanding of what you did and your commitment to Ensemble. So it's credit to you and the years you put in. Thank you. Just wanted to pass that along. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, Councillor.
Madame Députée.
Merci, Monsieur Kingston. Debbie, any other comments? No?
J'avais.
Conseiller Leblanc.
Oui. Well, we're losing a good person in this city. I would like to commend you for all the work you did, and we will be losing a great leader. And I'm saying the same words. I didn't want to repeat the words of my other councillors.
Thank you, Monique.
Merci, Conseiller Leblanc. And I also want to join my colleagues in thanking you. You've been incredible and you've really served our city well, Debbie. And we wish you all the best in your retirement. So I'm sure we'll see you around.
Well, they're having a party for me tomorrow night at the press club. So 4 to 7, I think there might even be some finger food. So we'd love to have you drop by and we can tell stories then.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item, notre prochain item, administration presentations, exposé de l'administration. Le premier aujourd'hui, c'est la mise à jour de la GRC. Et c'est Jonathan White, officier responsable des opérations du service régional de Kodiak.
Bonsoir.
Hi, bonjour everyone, Deputy Mayor, conseiller, conseillère, and members of the public. Here to provide you with our monthly update. Superintendent Gillette sends his regrets. He's currently in Regina attending a mass casualty management training. So he will be back next week. And also that I must leave immediately after providing my report, as I have to attend the Dieppe City Council for our budget proposal. So I will be open for questions after my report. On October 2nd, we held a Cop with a Copy event at the Champlain Mall. This event, like the previous ones, have led to a great way to meet with local residents and potential candidates who are interested in joining the RCMP. We'd like to thank those who attended and to came out and meet our proactive recruiter and community policing unit as well. Since January of this year, our community policing unit has completed a total of 10 de-escalation training sessions, as previously reported to council. These sessions have been delivered throughout Kodiak to community partners, business owners, and staff and other agencies. So in total, 36 different groups were trained during the 10 information sessions. On October 11th, members of our community policing unit, as well as the university students currently on assignment to our team in Kodiak, attended an orientation day for new arrival families here in Canada. During the gathering, we delivered a presentation on the role of police in our communities. And as indicated before, several new arrivals to Canada in our area come from areas where the relationship with police is either non-existent or aligned with violence and fear. So by doing these, we're hoping to bridge those connections. In regards to our community crime reduction unit, so on September 17th, members of our crime reduction unit and integrated enforcement unit conducted open air drug enforcement in our downtown area, specifically in the St. George Street area. Members observed a male sitting in a vehicle in front of the hub shelter who was known as police to being arrestable on an outstanding warrant. Subsequent to his arrest, members located a large amount of drugs, a weapon, and drug trafficking paraphernalia. So this individual was charged and arrested for possession for the purpose of trafficking, and the matter is before the courts. Our crime reduction unit and our integrated enforcement unit are also currently investigating a large amount of ongoing files related to illegal drugs and persistent property crime files. So as indicated in our last report, we track individuals who operate in our area and cause the most harm in our community. Currently, a total of the 11 of the 15 most persistent offenders are incarcerated on various charges stemming from previous investigations and arrests. Our crime reduction unit will continue to work in partnership with our criminal analysts to track, investigate, and disrupt the activities of these offenders. In regards to our patrol section, on September 23rd, members of our patrol section responded to a collision between a vehicle and pedestrian on Wheeler Boulevard near the Mapleton exit. Once on scene, we determined that a 67-year-old man had died on the scene. The RCMP's traffic collision reconstructionist attended the scene, and through the investigation, we do not believe that any criminality occurred or no charges have been laid. The collision occurred in mid-afternoon and closed one side of Wheeler for several hours throughout the afternoon. Thank you to our motorists and residents for their patience and sincere condolences to the family of the departed. On September 26th, members of our patrol section responded to a call for service in the late evening regarding a male causing a disturbance on St. George Street. Upon arriving on scene, members located the male and discovered that he was currently unlawfully at large. The male was arrested and taken into custody, and during the search, members located a prohibited knife on his person, as well as a large amount of drugs which were packaged in a way consistent for jail smuggling. On October 4th, just after 9 a.m., members of our Kodiak RCMP responded to a bomb threat at the Moncton Courthouse on Assumption Boulevard. In partnership with Regional Sheriff's Office at the courthouse, the building was safely evacuated, and members immediately began the investigation and were able to identify the suspect as the same individual who was facing 2 separate robbery charges at a store in Riverview. Various RCMP support units were contacted and attended, including our police dog services and the explosives disposal unit. After a brief period, we were able to clear the building and staff were able to resume their workdays. Our crime reduction unit was tasked in locating the suspect. Next week, on October 15th, members of our crime reduction unit were able to locate the suspect at a residence on Cascade Avenue in Moncton. Based on the information we had and to ensure the safety of the public, several members attended the scene, and we requested the assistance of the New Brunswick Emergency Response Team. Thanks to coordinated work, we were able to take the suspect into custody and lay new charges. He's currently remanded and waiting for a future court date for all offenses. In another unrelated incident on October 6th, members on patrol were called to a business on Shediac Road where a report of a vehicle collision had occurred on Highway 2. Once on scene, one of our members determined that one of the vehicle's drivers was in possession of a firearm. As a member attempted to place the male under arrest, the suspect brandished a firearm and pointed it at our member. Luckily, no one was hurt. However, the male managed to escape the scene after stealing another vehicle from an unsuspecting bystander. More members arrived on scene to support the first officer who had been alone, and we pursued the investigation. As the investigation progressed, we were able to identify the male and potential accomplices. On October 9th, thanks to the assistance of the Crime Reduction Unit, our patrol section, police dog services, the emergency response team, as well as the RCMP's helicopter, we were able to locate a vehicle in Moncton and Mountain Road with 5 individuals who were safely taken into custody. A few hours later, as members pursued their investigation, the primary target, who had pointed the firearm and stolen the vehicle 3 days prior, was located at a residence in Dieppe and taken into custody. Various serious charges have now been laid and the suspect remains in custody. Once again, the work done in this file is impressive and we're able to coordinate our resources to place several people in custody and ensure public safety. Lastly, on October 17th, our patrol members responded to an incident where a vehicle was near Harrison Trimble and an occupant allegedly pointed a firearm at an individual in the school's yard. We then received a subsequent call for service indicating that same vehicle was on Highfield Street and then traveling on Assumption Boulevard towards this town of Riverview. Several members swarmed the area and we were able to locate the suspect vehicle on Assumption Boulevard where 4 young males aged 16 to 18 were taken into custody. During the arrest and search of the vehicle, a replica firearm was located and seized. No one was hurt during the incident. And on October 18th, the New Brunswick Tactical Traffic Enforcement Unit was in the Kodiak area. As always, we partnered up with them to conduct a 1-day intensive traffic blitz in the Kodiak area. We focused on key areas which were reported to us by residents and elected officials, as well as vehicles which were in poor condition. A total of 103 tickets were issued. 55 vehicles were escorted to the parking lot of the Moncton Coliseum to undergo a mechanical safety inspection. Total of 28 vehicles were towed and 21 were deemed unsafe. It's a pretty impressive results for a single-day event. That's it for our report, and I'm open for questions. Merci, c'est tout pour mon rapport, puis je suis ouvert pour les questions. Merci.
Merci. Councillor Butler.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, Inspector White, for your report. Great work by the guys. just maybe something that you can speak about at your next management meeting. I've been going over I always like to go over the CRPA files, the crime stats. So I've gone from March till now, and I noticed that before we had a meeting with a Superintendent Paul Beauchamp when he was here, and we had come to a decision that, with his help, that we would break down the break and enters, the break and enter business, a resident, or other.
Okay.
And I noticed since March that hasn't been happening. It was just one shot. So if somebody that's going to move to this city and looks at the stats and that, in March there would have been 88 break and enters in the city, just in the city of Moncton, and right up through to now would have been 433 break and enters.
Correct.
So we don't know if they're residents, their businesses, or other. And as if you look, or maybe you look back last year, it used to be broke down better.
Yep.
So if you could pass that on, that'd be greatly appreciated.
No problem. We can definitely have that ready for you, and it's easy to do. So
Okay.
yep.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam.
Merci, Councillor Butler. Any other questions? I see no questions. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you. Take care. Bonne soirée. Bye-bye.
Our next item is a presentation by Kevin Siliker, our Director of Economic Development, and an update to the Riverfront Master Plan. And I believe you have yep, there it is.
Bonsoir, Monsieur Siliker.
Bonjour.
You're not going to sing for us this evening?
No singing tonight. Good evening, Deputy Mayor Thériault and members of council. Of course, there's many good things happening in our community, lots of great developments, lots of accolades and positive things happening. We're always on the lookout for potential areas of improvement and expanding upon our community in a positive fashion. And as such, our municipality some time ago identified enhancing the riverfront as a priority area for our municipality. And if you want to move to slide 2, please. The city strategic plan includes an action item to enhance the riverfront by developing a riverfront master plan. Earlier in 2004, through a public request for proposals process, a consultant was engaged to help the city deliver on this riverfront master plan. Next slide, please. Le secteur riverain représente une formidable opportunité pour Moncton, mais le riverain a besoin d'attention et de soins. Moncton's riverfront has all the potential of being a signature must-see destination and experience for Moncton residents and visitors alike. Next slide, please. The objective of the Riverfront Master Plan is to create an exceptional riverfront destination that encourages recreation, creates an inviting space for diverse events, honors our heritage and Indigenous history, and upholds environmental preservation. A Riverfront Master Plan should consider many facets of how our community may utilize or best benefit from the riverfront experience. And our riverfront has a lot of beautiful areas in existence, and these are some great examples of some snapshots of some highly valuable areas and assets along our riverfront. Next slide, please. But there's some areas of our riverfront that need improvements, perhaps from a safety perspective, or maybe some areas are not optimized for the benefit of visitors and residents. Alors, les thèmes suivants doivent être pris en compte. Protection de l'environnement, patrimoine, espace public, utilisateurs multigénérationnels, espace pour des événements, ainsi que développement de santé et d'infrastructures et intégration au centre-ville. We've been working away on this project over the past several months. An interdepartmental city working group was established to provide support to the consultant team and to the overall project. The consultant has completed a review of city plans and strategies related in various ways to the riverfront. The consultant conducted a series of one-on-one and group consultations with city department, including urban planning, economic development, parks and recreation, engineering, environment, Resurgo, culture, events and festivals, and corporate communications. The physical platform of the riverfront was examined, including various site analysis, and on-site walkabouts were completed. A soft launch round of public consultation began, where the Riverfront Master Plan was introduced as a project of focus for the Mayor's Youth Advisory Committee. Also during the summer, the consultants dispatched a bilingual intercept campaign on the riverfront, where users were approached to provide feedback on trail utilization, areas of improvement, and considerations to enhance the public space. Downtown Moncton Centreville Inc. was provided an overview of the objectives of the project, and dialogue has begun with First Nations representatives. And just last week, we actually walked the riverfront together, and we learned some valuable lessons along the way. Well, I'm here tonight to talk about next steps on the project, and really that's the objective and our message tonight. The project is really now at a stage where a broader and open bilingual public consultation process is planned with the launch of a Let's Chat page, including a Your Riverfront public survey. Nous invitons maintenant le public à partager sa vision pour les riverains. We invite the public to complete the survey and to engage with the Let's Chat Riverfront project page. There are some real positives and opportunities to build upon. Trail usage numbers continue to grow with more demand for green space and active transportation on the rise. Next slide, please. And a need for walkable places to eat, meet, and play can be brought together with the right planning and oversight to achieve a purposeful balance of preserving certain parts of the riverfront while enhancing other sections for the benefit of generations to come. And I think it's really important to point out the scope and the geographic area that this Riverfront Master Plan considers. So it's really right from the Moncton-Dieppe border, of course, to the Gunningsville Bridge, but past to the new crossing, the Honorable Brenda Robertson crossing. So a very vast area between the Moncton-Dieppe border all the way to the Honorable Brenda Robertson crossing. So a large territory. So with the public's feedback, the consultant can start to work on concepts and designs, which can then be brought forward for further rounds of public engagement. And an open house is considered where residents can weigh in on preliminary design work. Next slide, please. Once the ideas are refined, a final report will include a robust overall plan and concept, including a capital plan for a phased implementation approach over the next several years. And this is going to take several years to invest and bring the riverfront forward. So at this point, we look forward to hearing the public's feedback on this very important area of our city. Next slide, please. And we'd love to hear your ideas for the riverfront. And I think it's important to note that clearly, obviously things like recreation and activities are welcome, but also the protection of green space. I think it's really important to understand that this is not to take over all the green space, but it's to plan out the riverfront in a harmonious manner and make sure that we have the right amenities there for new neighborhoods and new downtown residents who are selecting and choosing to live in the downtown, but also making sure to preserve the beauty of the river, the beauty of the riverfront, and the natural environment as well. So next slide, please. I'll wrap here and just, again, make it known that our Let's Chat Riverfront Master Plan project page is now live. The public survey is live. We'll be doing some promotions to make sure that we spread that word in the community and hope to get a good turnout and response on this. We'll also be bringing this information back to council to hear council's feedback and direction on the riverfront and what its vision may be as well, along with citizens and residents and visitors. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you, Kevin. Conseiller Bourgeois, I believe, has a question.
Oui, merci beaucoup, Madame la maire adjointe. Merci énormément, Kevin, et Jim Scott et son équipe pour le travail accompli. J'ai hâte de voir le résultat final. Juste petite question. La première, c'est est-ce que l'équipe de consultants ont accès aux documents confidentiels que nous, sur ce projet ici, on est obligé de garder secret, mais il y a peut-être une façon d'assurer la confidentialité des documents ou est-ce que ça ne fait pas partie de leur liste?
Non, le consultant n'a pas accès aux documents confidentiels. Alors, seulement les documents, les stratégies qui sont publiques sont disponibles pour le consultant. Alors, s'il y a quelque chose de spécifique que tu penses qui est relevant pour le consultant, laissez-nous savoir et on peut faire certain que c'est considéré par le consultant.
OK, parfait. Je te fais confiance. C'est que je me demande juste s'il y a de l'information là-dedans qui pourrait affecter le parc riverain. C'est tout. C'est ton jugement, je m'y fie. Ma deuxième question, c'est par rapport, il y a une phrase dans le rapport qui dit qu'on prévoit que le consultant va nous proposer un plan d'investissement des infrastructures de plusieurs années. Dans le document, le Council Report Form, ça dit several years. Ça veut dire quoi? 5, 7, 10, 20?
Ce n'est pas conclu juste à le moment, mais en considération de la territoire et les acres là, on pensait que ça va être une duration de 3, peut-être 5 années comme une introduction.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame la maire adjointe.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. Conseiller Radjet.
Hello. Bonjour. Merci. Kevin, I want to thank you for putting the photo in this presentation, which gives us such a good glimpse of how large the riverfront really is. And I think sometimes we limit our expectations and our thoughts of the riverfront being more east of the bridge than east of the causeway. So that's a large piece of land there. And I'm just wondering if you could just touch on some of the opportunities and perhaps even more important, the limitations of that land.
Certainly. So I think we're talking about the land between the two bridges, the Gunningsville Bridge and the Honorable Brenda Robertson Crossing. So yes, there are vast tracts of land there. Clearly, that was a former landfill site. So it has some limitations with regards to construction of any structures and anything that may require foundations. But the surface of it has tremendous opportunities from a trail development perspective, perhaps some activities that are able to be constructed or built at surface level, but not having to get into any underground infrastructure. But also that whole area, and I've walked it and biked it. It needs access improvements. It needs better connectivity to the city as a whole, but also there's opportunities there for natural habitat, for interpretation, for environmental stewardship, and telling that story of sustainability. There's research in other communities, and other communities have successfully reimagined what some of these downtown landfill sites look like. Barrie, Ontario is a good example that we've done some research on. So there's lots of potential in this area, but it does have to be done with environmental stewardship and obviously consideration of the past. And we've worked with Elaine clearly and Tim Moorman and kind of examining that area and what the possibilities are as well as some limitations.
Well, I think there's lots of potential there, and I look forward to the ideas and solutions that will be coming forward. Thank you very much, Kevin.
Thank you.
Merci, conseiller Radjet. Just one last question, Kevin. So there are citizens who live around that area. We now have the Three Sisters. So we will be making a real effort to invite these people and to consult them. We have someone on Founders Street. We have Waterloo. We have, so just make sure that everyone is consulted.
Definitely. And I think we heard at the Heritage Board not that long ago, residents in that area are, I guess, being challenged with, some of this new development in the neighborhood. And we now have school buses going through our downtown neighborhoods. We have lots of young families now in downtown, many pets as well. And so this is the feedback that we're hearing at this stage, that we need amenities for that neighborhood. This emerging neighborhood, things like dog parks, things like activities for families, but also consideration of existing businesses and citizens in the downtown, and how do we plan and align these emerging needs in our communities. So definitely those things are on the radar and will be taken into consideration.
Merci beaucoup. Thank
Merci.
you.
Thank you.
The next item is planning matters, des questions d'urbanisme. And the first this evening is a public hearing on the rezoning at 61 Donald Avenue. There are no objections that were received in the clerk's office, and Sarah Anderson is here to present.
Madame la greffière, do we need to explain the process? No?
No.
C'est beau. Okay, merci. Go ahead, Sarah.
Good afternoon. So this is a rezoning application. I guess I'm going to have to say next slide, please. This is an application to amend the permitted uses in the NC zone, which is neighborhood convenience, and it's located at 61 Donald Avenue, and the request is to permit a residential dwelling unit on the main floor. Next slide, please. So the subject property is located in Ward 1, and it is in the Sunnybray neighborhood. Slide, please. So the site is located on Donald Avenue. The surrounding neighborhood has a mixture of residential uses. We've got some R2U for urban dwelling. We have R2 for 2-unit dwelling, and there are also a few properties zoned R3 for multiple unit dwelling. The subject lot, though, is zoned NC for neighborhood convenience. So the NC zone specifically requires that main floor to be used for commercial purposes only to serve the neighborhood. This helps to meet the goal of a complete community where residents can access some of their basic needs within their own neighborhood. The NC zone only permits residential uses as a secondary use and only above the main floor. And this does ensure that the main floor is used for commercial purposes only. However, in order to provide an accessible unit, as per the building code, a residential unit either has to be located on the main floor or in one of the upper floors. In this case, with a limit of 3 stories, the number of units in the building does not really financially justify the cost of an elevator. So therefore, the request is here to permit residential units on the main floor. So to give just a little bit of context, the property is currently vacant and has been since 2010. Prior to 2010, there was a 3-story building with a convenience store on the main floor and residential units above located on this lot. The building was demolished in 2010 after a fire damaged it. Next slide, please. So this is the site plan. So the applicant is proposing to construct a 3-story building. It will have 8 residential units, 1 3-bedroom unit, and 7 4-bedroom units. A commercial laundromat is being proposed on the first floor of the entire front portion there of the building facing Donald Avenue. There are 4 parking stalls, 12 bicycle parking, and it should be noted here that the original plan that was introduced to City Council on September 3rd, it accommodated a much smaller laundromat on that ground floor, and it was only 16% of the total ground floor area. The laundromat was proposed in only half of that front portion there facing Donald Avenue, and then in the other half was proposed a bachelor unit. And so while administration did support the amendment request to have a residential unit on the ground floor, it was felt that that commercial component should be larger in order to truly meet the intent for a true neighborhood convenience. So for this reason, administration originally recommended denying the proposed application as presented due to the layout of the building. At the time, council did agree with this position and voted to see the project move forward through the process, but only on the condition that that commercial component be enlarged to at least 30%, with the goal that the entire front portion of the building be used for commercial purposes. So since then, the applicant has redesigned the main floor layout. They removed the bachelor unit. They enlarged the laundromat to encompass that entire full front portion. Adjustments were also made to the footprint of the building to maximize all the setbacks. And so the revised plans show the laundromat at 29% of the gross floor area. So administration does feel that although it's slightly less than that 30%, which was originally requested, 29% is satisfactory. The entire front portion of the building abutting Donald will be commercial with large windows and access directly to the sidewalk. So it is felt that that intent to provide a true neighborhood convenience is being met with the revised plans, and it is supported. Next slide, please. So these are the elevation drawings of the proposed building. The siding will be fiber cement with accents in wood and stone, and the building does meet all design standards. And I'll go to the next slide, please. And these are a few renderings of the building and the site as well. And you can go to the next slide. So the recommendation is that Moncton City Council approve the zoning bylaw amendment, being bylaw Z 222.39 and Schedule A39 for the property located at 61 Donald Avenue, subject to a resolution with conditions, including the number of conditions that are listed down here. So other than that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Merci, Sarah. I'm new to this. I've never done this before, so please bear with me.
Sure.
So is this when I ask the applicant or the developer, are you here? Would you like to speak on the project? Okay.
Just questions.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak for the project? No? Anyone objecting to the project? No one? So now we move to members of council. So you have questions or conseiller Richard?
Merci, Madame Adjointe. On the pictures that were provided, is there a difference in elevation, like with the back and the front? Is there? But it doesn't look bad on the
renderings, which sometimes aren't super accurate, but there is a grade difference. So the building would be located lower and lower than the building to the north, or like right next to it, I guess, at the back.
So is there anything on the back side or on the north side of the lot, like a retaining wall or something? Is there anything like that?
I'm not sure if they've done those studies yet. I think the plan is to grade it as much as possible, and then there may be the need to have some level of a retaining wall on one portion of it. But I'm not sure if it's so steep that a big full, story tall wall is required, but maybe a portion of a wall.
Okay. Yeah. So everything is coming down from the back side, from the north side, as long as that's considered.
Yes. Oh, yes. And a drainage plan would be required, and absolutely grading and drainage in order to get a permit.
That's great. Thank you. Merci, Madame Adjointe.
Merci, conseiller Richard. Conseiller Adjointe.
Merci, Madame la Maire Adjointe. My question would be, have we received a proposal similar to this in the past for the same land?
Yes.
And so is this similar in the whole proposal, or is there something?
The original one that we received, it was a number of years ago, and it was for the same thing. It was to have a residential unit on the main floor. I'm not sure exactly what happened. They just didn't go forward with the.
Okay, so these are new landowners?
Totally new. Yes.
Totally different.
The original one, I think they were going to do a cafe on that main floor.
Yeah, there was to be some commercial content on that one.
Yeah.
So right now, the commercial is the laundromat itself.
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
Merci, conseiller Adjointe. Any other questions from council? I do have a question, though. And I think it's similar to what Conseiller Richard asked. I'm sorry, I didn't understand everything that was being said. So, the designs, which is the right design? Because you've got several here. So, which is the closest to the one that will be built?
Typically, so the elevation drawings, those were the first ones. They look a little bit more technical. They may not be as pretty. Those ones would be probably closer to, that gives the actual dimensions. That would be the actual look of it. The renderings, right. So this one here would be more specific to what we will see. The renderings, the sort of pretty picture, should look the same, but this has sort of softer edges to kind of show you the surrounding neighborhood and the streets around it and that sort of thing.
So when you mention the laundry space, it's not, it's just for the tenants of the building. So
No, it will be open for the neighborhood to use. I mean, it's a commercial laundromat, basically.
And where are the windows for this, for the commercial space?
It should be facing Donald, and I believe there may be one on the side as well. I'm not sure if you can bring up the.
Okay.
So if you maybe go back to the one slide before this. So the one on the bottom right-hand corner would be the side facing. So that is the part where exactly where the mouse is. So that is facing, that's the main part that abuts Donald Avenue. So you've got your main doors in the middle, and then you've got 3 window panes on one side and 2 on the other.
And what about landscaping?
So if you go to the slide right before this, you'll see that there are trees planted all around. I believe it's a 5-meter setback at the front. So there's definitely room for trees along the front and the sides as well as walkways. And then the bike racks, I think, are there next to the building in the sort of where it juts in a bit.
Merci, Sarah. And any other questions? Donc, maintenant. So I will declare the public hearing closed. And we have a motion. Conseiller Kingston moved and seconded. Conseiller LeBlanc. So we move to the vote. Any more questions? Oui? No? C'est beau. So on the motion, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Merci.
The next is a tentative subdivision for Dahok and Bayan, Cash in Lieu, and I guess that Paul Edgar is here to do this presentation.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor and members of council. Administration has received a subdivision application for the purpose of creating a new lot, residential building lot. As no LFPP is required, cash in lieu is required. The proposed subdivision is located at 190 Highview Road in Ward 1. As outlined in red is, whoops. Can you go back one slide, please? Thank you. Outlined in red is the area that's proposed for subdivision. The purpose of the tentative plan is to create lot 2401 for residential purposes. And this is the subdivision plan that shows where the lot is being created on the overall lot that's provided. As land for public purposes is not required from this property, the subdivision bylaw allows the city council to take 8% of the value of the land as cash in lieu payment. We worked with Parks, Engineering, and ourselves in urban planning to determine that we actually did not own any land in this area. Go back one slide, please. Thank you. Administration recommends that Moncton City Council require cash in lieu for land for public purposes in the amount of $5,390.59 for the Dahak and Bayan subdivision. Thank you.
So thank you, Paul. We have a recommendation. So can I have a mover, Shah, seconded by Kingston? Any other questions? Okay. There are no questions? The Bourgeois.
Merci beaucoup, Madame la maire adjointe. Merci beaucoup, Paul. C'est une question qui s'adresse plus à Jacques Doucette. Je demandais, est-ce qu'il va y avoir un bilan de où on est rendu avec le pot d'argent qu'on appelle LFPP, Land for Public Purposes? Est-ce qu'on va avoir une présentation de ce total-là avant la fin de l'année ou est-ce que ça va faire partie du budget?
Bonjour le conseiller. Ça, c'est quelque chose à chaque année. On peut vous donner la balance, je veux dire, quand on retourne demain. Mais c'est quelque chose qu'on partage avec nos états financiers qui sont vérifiés aussi. Mais c'est quelque chose que je peux envoyer au conseil demain, si tu veux.
Oui, ça serait intéressant d'avoir l'information. J'apprécierais. Merci. Merci, Madame la maire adjointe.
Merci, conseiller Bourgeois. The questions, il n'y en a pas? So on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
The next item is statements from members of councilors, exposés des membres du conseil.
Conseiller Butler. Go ahead.
Merci, Deputy. I just, maybe this is through to our city manager. I hear all the time about the firefighters seeing the trucks going with the red lights and stuff on regards to overdoses and even give Narcan. It would be nice to have for council the number of calls that they receive regards to overdoses that they go to and also where they're using Narcan. I'm sure that they would have that information, that data someplace.
Thank you, Councillor, for the question. That's some information that we'll be able to provide to council. So if you give us a few days, we should be able to provide to council.
Merci, conseiller Butler et Monsieur le Gérant.
Le prochain item, c'est its recommendations from a private meeting of Moncton City Council on July 8th, 2024. Moncton City Council at its private meeting of July 8th, 2024 reports that the agenda for the private meeting of July 8th, 2024 was adopted and recommends the following: that Moncton City Council authorize Moncton Industrial Development Limited to enter into a credit agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada for the amount of $35 million, and that Moncton City Council authorizes city to sign and guarantee and postponement of claim on Royal Bank of Canada's Form 812 in support of the $35 million line of credit facility, and further that the Moncton City Council authorize the mayor and city clerk to sign any of the required documentation and affix the corporate seal thereto. The background is MID is a city of Moncton controlled entity and is part of its consolidated financial statement. The City of Moncton funds MID through 3 different operational grants, which enables MID to operate, develop and sell lands in the existing industrial parks in the city. With successive record-breaking total sales over the past number of years, MID needs to continue developing parks at an accelerated pace. While challenging, this sustained growth is driving the regional economy. A recently completed economic impact assessment has demonstrated that MID's activities foster significant contributions to the regional and provincial economies over the past 10 years, with over 500 million generated in 2021 alone.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. So do you wish to move the recommendation, Councillor Edgett, Councillor Butler, seconded? C'est beau. Thank you. Merci. Any question? No questions? On the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
The second motion that came out of this meeting is that Moncton City Council direct the city solicitors through city's external legal counsel to initiate a legal action in the City of Moncton's name in the Court of Queen's Bench against tourism accommodation operator Jubilee Hospitality Limited enforce compliance with the tourism accommodation levy bylaw and to recover the amounts owing the City of Moncton under the tourism accommodation bylaw. Background on this, the city, through its external legal counsel, commenced separate legal actions in court against tourism accommodation operators who were in violation of the tourism accommodation levy bylaw. All operators but one have remitted and paid the city in full and are now in compliance with the requirements of the bylaw. The above noted company has not complied with the tourism levy bylaw.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. Mover, Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Kingston. Any questions? No questions. So on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
I need to make a correction to this. The date should be October 15th, not July 8th, 2024 meeting. The third and final recommendation coming out of this meeting was that Moncton City Council approve the term of a 10-year lease agreement with Bragg Communications Incorporated, generally in the form of the attached draft, for the purpose of allowing Bragg Communications to install approved telecommunications equipment on Twin Oaks water storage reservoir for an annual fee of $22,500 subject to CPI indexing, and further, that a final license agreement be prepared by the legal department and the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to sign said agreement and to affix the corporate seal of the City of Moncton thereto. Background, Bragg Communications Incorporated, Bragg or Eastlink, has approached the city with a request to install telecommunications equipment on the Twin Oaks water storage reservoir. The city has imposed restrictions to install telecommunications equipment on the sides of and to a maximum elevation the tank's concrete pedestal. Access to the reservoir will only be provided via city staff. The proponent will be required to comply with all aspects of the contract, including obtaining any permits required by the city prior to installation. Any renewal term, if approved after 10 years, will be subject to CPI indexing and an additional 3% fee increase.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. So could I have a mover and a second? Conseiller Butler, Conseiller Richard. Any questions? With none. So on the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Merci.
Next is reports from administration, les rapports d'administration, and there is one coming before council today. The emergency mutual aid agreement, and the motion before council is that Moncton City Council authorizes city to enter an emergency mutual aid agreement between the town of Beau-Rivage, Village de Memramcook, rural community of Beau-Soleil, a regional town of Kapakadi, municipality of Nouvelle-Acadie, town of Chambéry, town of Riverview, city of Dieppe, town of Salisbury, village of Five Rivers, town of Shediac, village of Funday Albert, rural community of Straight Shores, town of Grand Bouctouche, town of Townchamar, rural community of Maple Hills, and the community of Three Rivers, and that the mayor and the city clerk be authorized to execute all necessary documents and affix a corporate seal thereto.
Merci, Madame la Greffière. We also have a motion for this. So could I have a mover and a seconder? Councillor Kingston, Councillor LeBlanc. Any questions?
No.
Monsieur Landry. Bonsoir, Monsieur Landry.
Bonsoir.
Conseiller Bourgeois.
Merci, Madame la maire adjointe. Je veux juste m'assurer, est-ce qu'il y a toutes les municipalités de Kent, Westmoreland, Albert qui sont inclus ou est-ce qu'il y a des municipalités qui sont exclues de l'entente?
Merci, la mairesse adjointe. Conseiller Bourgeois, jusqu'à présent, toutes les municipalités ont accepté côté administratif. Puis là, il faut que ça aille à chaque conseil. Ça fait jusqu'à présent, toutes les municipalités sont incluses.
Parfait. Merci beaucoup. Merci, Madame la maire.
Merci, Conseiller Bourgeois. Conseiller Crossman.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. My question would be, what is the definition of the emergency mutual aid agreement? What does it exactly cover? Because this seems to be a very large area. So I'm curious to know, what our Moncton Fire Department plan is, since they're going to be associated with it. Curious to know what the plan is to move forward, because this is a very large area that we're talking about, but there's no definition of the emergency mutual aid. I know we have it in our package, but if Chief Landry could explain it to the public and how we're going to go around servicing this area.
Thank you, Maris Adjoint. Councillor Crosman. So that's very important that it's for an emergency. So the definition of emergency is when a municipality decides that it needs additional help to coordinate their event or their incident. I know it's a little broad, but it is there. We're doing it now. It just, this particular agreement expands to all resources, not just the fire department, so all resources of the city. And one thing that's important is that in this agreement is that no municipality is obligated. We can always refuse if for whatever reason we don't have the resources or we don't want to send them. But if we do lend our resources, then these are the provisions that they're going to pay our expenses, etc. So there's no obligation to respond. So that's what is kind of great about this particular agreement. But it's not for if they have a piece of machinery or equipment that's broken that they need. This is not part of this agreement. It's just only during emergencies.
Good, thank you. Thank you, Your Worship.
Merci, Councillor Crossman. Any other questions? No? So on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Merci.
The next item is reading of bylaws et lecture des arrêtés municipaux, and I will require council's permission to give second reading.
Qu'est-ce que je fais? Councillor Butler. Councillor Kingston. Okay. Any questions on this as well? None. So on the motion, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
A bylaw, an amendment of the City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z 222.39. It's regarding 69 Donald Avenue. It's a second reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté de zonage de la ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté 2.39, 61 avenue de Donald. C'est la deuxième lecture. I require third reading. Move.
Councillor Butler and Councillor Kingston again. Merci, vous deux.
A bylaw and amendment of a City of Moncton zoning bylaw being bylaw Z 222.39, 61 Donald Avenue. It's a third reading. Arrêté portant modification de l'arrêté de zonage de la ville de Moncton sur l'arrêté Z 222.39, 61 rue Donald. C'est la troisième lecture. These were also advertised on our City of Moncton webpage, so they will be updated in the next week.
So this is the end of the meeting, I guess. Conseiller Richard, it's
Oui, Maris Adjointe, je proposerai la clôture de la réunion.
la clôture de la réunion. Bravo. Merci beaucoup. Merci à tous. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Hein, c'est quoi là? Qu'est-ce qu'on fait maintenant?
Rien.
Rien.